Now, a person that I always liked, I mentioned it before, to study, and I've gotten so much storytelling from this guy, from Homer, Winslow Homer.
Oh man.
This is Eight Bells. It was painted in 1886.
Wasn't he also he was he was a war correspondent in the Civil War and would
He
make on
was.
the scene sketches. So he was like a graphics reporter
He was. He
telling the
was. He was
story
an
of the
illustrator.
Civil War.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was drawing these people all the time.
Yeah.
He was drawing people, soldiers and stuff. And so then what I did is I grid this up. And what I did here was a silhouette. And you can do this. So it really takes it down to its essence. The thing I like about this too is this is so cool because their hats they use look like bells.
They do.
I think that's fantastic.
They do.
But the thing about this too is he faded back the whatever they're called, the vertical ropes stuff.
Yeah, the rigging stuff.
He faded those back.
I missed.
I did them in silhouette because it's such a strong element. One thing about the gridding. Okay, let's look at this a second. He put the thing about Homer was he played with the middle more than any other illustrator I think I've seen.
Oh.
He put this main character pretty much right in the middle. Now you're usually told not to put stuff in the middle, which is what intrigues me, has always intrigued me about Homer. When I was a kid, I started, and I learned this from art instruction schools, to grid stuff. I started gridding his stuff, and I started recognizing, oh my gosh, he puts a lot of stuff in the middle. It's exactly what they tell you not to do. But the reason it works is because he does what he does around the middle. And so on the right, the vertical lines are in the quarter of the grid.
The far right,
Mm-hmm. And on the bottom, look what he's got on the bottom.
The hull of the boat.
Horizontal order. Okay, so he establishes, he makes it, he frames it that way. And the ropes.
So the character's not. He no longer, he's shifted by framing it that way. His center character is no longer in the center of the.
Yeah, that's right. No, exactly right.
Yeah.
And also you'll notice that main character, his head is almost right in the middle.
It really is. It still is.
Yeah, and the way he made those shapes with the sextant going down to the thing that I forget what that's called, the other guy on the right that he's using, which almost looks like a gun. But if you look at the bottom of the sextant, the guy, that bottom of that line goes right into the line of the thing the guy's holding.
Yeah. And
so it pulls your eye there. It just feels like there's motion. So the sea is moving, the sky is moving, the wind is the ship is moving, their coat is his coat is in the wind, and that just kind of helps the movement a little bit. And then the cocked angle of the hats.
Yes.
You'll notice something and because of the gridding, the guy in the middle, his hat is at kind of the lower right corner of that square, sort of.
Yes.
Notice where the other guy's hat is also in that square.
It goes pooching into the lower part of the other square, the square on the right. Okay, they repeat like that.
Yeah, but now if he had both hats at the same angle, it would be really boring. It would be your attention would be drawn to it, just like bells ringing, in the wind.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he meant that intentionally, if he saw these hats, but I know he dropped another painting to go to this one because he thought of it and he saw it and he got excited. So also that little bitty, this is interesting because there's things about paintings that if you cover it up, you'll know if it belongs there or not. So the little, I didn't do the clouds, but the opening in the clouds, if you didn't have that, it would still be a great painting, but with it, it adds drama, it adds movement, the shape.
Do you want us all to cover up that on our screens?
Yeah, you cover
up the blue patch of sky. the composition loses power.
It loses some, yeah. And that little shape on the guy to the right that's sticking up off the hull, whatever the part of the boat.
The little ball on the stick sort of looking thing?
It's it's sticking up. Yeah, it's in the right on the vertical quarter at the lower right corner square.
Okay. Oh, yes. The ship itself.
Yeah.
Okay. On the hull.
It's there because it needed to be there. You know, it's just one thing that, I mean, it would have been okay without.
Well, it stops our eye from going right off to the right of the picture.
Yeah, yeah. And that's just something he just either did later or just left it in there and something, I don't know. But
little things.
Yeah, that's why it's great to study this. And also you notice where he put the horizon.
Way lower, what is that, lower quarter, lower third?
Yeah, lower third of the second row.
Yeah.
Kind of mimics this also, the vertical one.
I mean, in its placement on the grid line.
Yeah, but it's not an obvious horizon. He didn't, you know, we don't need to see an obvious horizon because you have already such a strong line on the ship that you don't want to compete with it.
More important, he wants us to feel the rolling ocean.
Yeah, and one of my favorite ones that I've done this, and it's nice because the Art Institute has the original. This is Herring Net.
Yeah, you mentioned this the other night.
Yeah, Herring Net is interesting because this is what I did with this one. And I've grid this up several times in the past, and it's given me such an interesting. This is so interesting. Again, in the middle, huh? How about that?
Mm-hmm. There it is.
In the middle, and he's playing with the middle. Even the horizon is dead on the middle. You know, Homer did that a lot with his seascapes. He would put the horizon exactly in the middle.
Well, don't they say in chess, if you can command the middle of the chessboard,
yeah,
you're in charge. You're controlling the space.
Yeah. Or if you can make your opponent look at something else and then move your king. So here is interesting because he's doing a lot of stuff with pyramids. Boy, there's so much in this thing, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I want to get to your stuff, and it's already almost 10 o'clock. So, but anyway, this is a good one to study, to how he breaks everything. He breaks things. You can see how things are broken by doing silhouettes. But you can see where he places things. And there's nothing in this painting that you could take out that would, you know, you can't take anything out of this painting.
Okay, let's test that. I'm going to take something out for us.
All right, how about that ship on the left?
All right. It's too much in the center and it's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it pulls your eye more to the left, which is why he did it.
The fish, if you took the net out, it would have, the picture would have no meaning.
Right.
Okay.
And also that barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And the foreground, notice how in the foreground in my silhouette thing, how this, I'm going to leave it with this. So the water, okay, so on the horizon, he starts dark to light. And then the guy's fishing in that big wave, it's dark to light. And then he repeats it again in the foreground, dark, because you know that's going to go light also. You pull back, you would see that, you would know that that would go light. So he's repeating that pattern.
But one really has to slow down and look at the picture.
You have
before these things start occurring to you.
And those, now notice also, I missed this, but the open areas, you have this bulk of this guy in the center, and then to his right are the oars. There's a place I missed that's open where the oars are meeting.
Let's look at, can you pull the sketch out of the way so we can look at the original?
Yeah, so if you look here, you can see.
Oh, I see the oars, yeah.
Where he left these openings. And those are negative shapes. Negative. The nice thing about doing it this way, I'll leave you with this. There's negative and positive shapes and how they work together and work with each other and work against each other. And that's why it's good to study silhouettes like this, because you're breaking it down to negative and positive shapes.
So we're to look at both shapes when we're studying a composition, be
Yeah.
deliberately, consciously looking at both negative and positive.
Yeah. I mean, look at that shape of that guy on the end of the boat, hanging himself over the boat.
It's wonderful.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know? And again, with the helmets, and they look like bells on a ship. And they both do that same thing. Then he painted these a year apart. He did that same thing with the helmets, with the hats. I mean,
they look metallic and everything.
They do, and they're cogged. They're not, you know, they're in motion.
They're in motion,
Yeah.
as is that beautiful crest of waves to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stunning one to.
Yeah, this is a great piece
to copy.
And the reason I mean, this is I shot this picture from a book, but I know it's impossible to see these originals because you got to go places, but it's always better if you can see the original, because you can connect with it better. You can see the colors, you can see the details. You know.
Oh, sure, whole different experience, but we take what we can get.
Okay, so how are we doing on time? Is there any more?
They're saying this has been wonderfully instructive so far. Do you need to go get a glass of water or anything, Larry?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay.
I want to start with this NC Wyeth. This is a fantastic Wyeth, just absolutely fantastic. This is interesting because I didn't really I've studied this before, but this is one I have not gridded. And
it was nice of you guys to put the originals up for us in this context. That's really cool.
That's fantastic. Now you'll see something here that's obvious when you look at it without gridding it, that basket is right in the middle. Again with the middle, but you'll notice too on this grid, the shapes of the figures. And it's really great that, is it Anne?
Yeah, it's Anne.
Anne drew these figures in such simple shapes. That's really great because it helps you focus on shapes, because he repeated these shapes of these figures, middle and in the foreground.
Yeah.
Now, in the foreground, we would not know what the heck that was, or in the middle, but we do know it's a figure in the back. It's interesting too because the birds flying, they're pretty much in the same shape, the ones she drew. So there's a pattern set, and they're surrounding the actual people. And the way the boats in the foreground are from left to right, they go left and they go up, two shapes that repeat themselves. And then in the back is just the opposite. So you have this character in this boat who's actually a shape that's pointing, also with his oars. He's pointing to where he's like a side character, like a supporting character.
Greek chorus or something.
Yeah, a Greek chorus. And the one thing I wanted to point out that is really strong in this. Okay, look at that. Look at the gulls that are on the water. If you look at the gulls in the water, and you did this to a degree, but to go a little further with it, it's a shape that is repeated through the whole painting. If you just look at those gulls on the water as a shape in itself, you'll see that it's pretty much the same shape as all the alewives in the foreground boat.
The alewives.
The alewives, I think that's what they're got in the boat, the fish.
Okay, they are. It's a little fish shape, and it's a boat shape too. It's like a boat and a fish.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating about this. But that shape of the gulls in the background, you took that out and you turned it and put it in the boat where he's pulling the fish in his net. That almost it's kind of the same shape in itself as a body of the value of white on dark.
It's exactly the same value. If I'm squinting my eyes, it's just the same.
And so what he's doing is he's pulling your eye from those gulls around into the boat. If you can, and that gull that's flying to the boat right there on the bottom left, it continues up through that gull, and it continues up around, and he's just got this circular motion going that is phenomenal. And all, you know what, it circles around that basket in the middle. Anyway, this is a fascinating painting. because in the boats they just repeat, in the oars they repeat, and the basket that's in the foreground boat to the right that's cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he had put that whole basket in there, it wouldn't. You don't need it because you've got enough visual information. You know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that strong vertical on the upper. Let's see, it would be in the in the upper right on the vertical right quarter.
Okay.
He's almost taking up that whole thing on the upper right corner as a framing device.
Wow, we learned a lot from Ann's grid.
Yeah, you do. That's it works. I mean, it really.
And you would never have seen those things otherwise.
Right, and this Degas is where is a bad Degas?
Right.
So this is great that you did
It's a
this.
great sketch by Betsy. Yeah.
Because this really helps you focus. I mean, you really focus on it, you know, and you can see this pattern, this line, this great line that he used a lot. Of this line of the elbow in the upper left, the figure with the head, and the head right next to it, going through the forearm and down, and yeah, and then this grid really helps you see that and focus on where these things lay on the page. And this, I don't know, is it Kayabo? This is
I don't know, but Chris could tell us.
Yeah, this was a good selection too, because this is interesting. It's very industrial feeling, very gray. And yeah, I don't know the story behind this painting, but obviously a bridge, and the way it's grid is really cool. You can see you can see in the middle, he's got it right in the middle. The line goes right in the middle, and you see that by the grid. The horizontal middle.
The railing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does, the top of the rail. And the juncture of those support beams sort of making their intersection right there at the middle, nearly the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle. I mean, that's like, this is such a good, but he throws it all off by putting the characters on the left.
On the left with all that dark value. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. And he's repeating the hats, 1, 2, 3. A bowler and 2 top hats. He's repeating that. Bang, bang, bang.
Chris, it would be interesting if you're still here, if you'd let us know what attracted you to this composition in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be kind of fun. Yeah, nice job.
And this Vermeer, as Vermeers go, are beautiful. And if you ever get to see originals, then
I've never seen one.
Yeah, they're small. And they're stunning.
Oh, man.
They're difficult to walk away from.
How small are they?
Oh, well, they're probably, 10 by 11 or...
Oh, that is small.
12
that is
by 14, somewhere around there. Yeah, the ones I've seen.
Is it true that he painted only 27 canvases in his life?
Yeah, it was very few. I think the Museum of Modern Art has a few. But if you ever get a chance when you go to New York City, go to the Frick. They have I know they have one. We may have 2 Vermeers there, but the Frick is a terrific museum to go to. Anyway, this gridding here is kind of cool. I noticed that there's some angled lines in here too, which is important to see. But you can see
which angled lines? The tablecloth coming down and
like radiant lines there.
She's indicating something, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can see those lines, the diagonal lines, from the shadows. But the main character, you can see where it is. It's right almost in the middle again. The head. And the nice thing about green is you can see now. Okay, on the right half is the subject, and then the right half of that broken again.
Her forehead is right in the crosshairs there, the woman, the seated woman.
Right.
Okay.
And then, let's see. This is interesting. This is it. Bruegel. The thing about this painting that's interesting is that it's got that classic composition. And Rembrandt did this on a couple landscapes. You've got 3 trees on the left. That is, and then the landscape.
Yeah.
That's considered a classic composition.
Giotto and the Italian Renaissance painters, they were doing that, weren't they? A lot of them.
They were doing exactly that.
Oh.
And this is a very interesting painting. This is more to me about, you can see in the grid where the trees are, as if you didn't know. But once you grid it, it's like, oh, yeah.
Right on the lines.
You know, they're all vertical and they're tall. And the hunters, whatever they are, I'm not sure what's going on with the dogs, but
yeah, I think they're hunters.
It feels that way. And then there's a big, huge river down there. And he pulled back on color, which is really interesting. And it's interesting that Diane did this color version.
She picked up on that. I'm struck by how her use of the warm and cool.
But you know that there's, you know, to see, I would love to see this original, because that bird in the upper
on the grid line,
that's such a great dancing thing there. Great. It's fantastic. This is a fantastic painting.
Are you talking about the placement of the three birds, particularly their relationship with each other? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also foreshortening of the birds. Obviously in front of the others.
Yeah. But it's interesting too, because look at the he's got these three verticals on the left, the trees, and then he switches to these horizontals on the right, where the bridges are over the river. There's three of them. I know there's more than three trees on this, but there's three dominant trees. And an interesting thing too, okay, now I'm just looking at this for the first time. Those three trees, the dominant trees, are basically spaced exactly the same distance apart from each other.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's great because it's broken up by the hunters and the dogs. It
would be unrelenting were it not for those figures.
Oh yeah, it would be so. And then it's also weighted on the left by the house and the angle of the roof.
Nice work, Diane. Oh, yeah. She's looking at it further. She's looking at flows. And oh my gosh, she's even got a Fibonacci spiral in there, golden section.
Yeah. There's some really
spiral and some
cool experimenting in here.
Yeah.
And this Van Gogh, I think this is a brilliant piece.
Oh, yeah. We've all seen reproductions of this painting.
Yeah, again, everything points right to that middle. The horizon is up higher. The horizon, it feels like it could be, let's see if the sketch shows. Well, the horizon looks like we don't see the horizon, so it's ambiguous, but it's just above. It looks like it might be just above the middle. He was big on perspective.
After he finally learned how to master it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But everything points to that middle. All the diagonal lines.
No kidding.
Terrific.
Terrific. 1 point.
Yeah, 1 point perspective, right? But you'd really notice it when you grid it up. So
that's right. And this is what you would see if you were standing right about in the street and your eye level was about the same as those people's eye level. I mean,
like that. But also, you know, I've seen the show they had here at the Art Institute. They had his a mock-up of what he used outside. He actually used a grid. He made a grid. He would paint. He would look at it through a grid. He would actually make a physical box with wire,
with strings or wire. Oh, okay. You know, I've never heard that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I didn't know it. Now this is really pretty interesting. That horse's head is right in that one grid, and the other guy the horse is looking at, his head is in a grid, and they are at a place on each rectangular square, kind of in the same spot. Just one is on the top, one is on the bottom of the square. That's really interesting. When I saw the grid, I thought, wow, I love this piece, but it's even cooler than I thought because of what this artist, I don't know who this is. Oh, there it is.
Kiyonobu.
But anyway, the circles are important in here too. He's got those.
There's a lot of curves. Yeah.
A lot of curves, and there's a lot of rhythm to it. With the tree around, you know, the head and the hats and the horse's body and those two stiff legs from the guy in the foreground mimicking the horse. You know, because the legs on the guy in the foreground are pretty similar to the shape and position of the horse's legs. In fact, the guy in the background has, you can see his leg. You can see, this is really fascinating. Okay, so you can see, and this is important. This is the gritting thing. I'll just say this. Look at the guy, look on the second from the top, over to the right.
In the dark kimono.
Yeah, now look where his leg is, behind the horse.
Oh, I see his foot, barefoot.
And then you see the leg of the horse. You see the leg of the guy in the foreground and his other leg. And look how that's repeated.
It sure is.
So it's like a dance.
Yeah, it is. Between the men's legs and the horse's legs.
And then you have this great curvature going on, and you have that staccato of those straight legs. And so they work with each other, and it's the same kind of thing I'm thinking of. If you did this, if you took this a bit further and did what I did with the Homers, and if you just used black and just blackened everything in as a solid shape,
silhouetting it.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd see almost like it would be like a kabuki, a very stylized kabuki dance or something. Yeah.
This would be fascinating. I love this piece. This piece is so beautiful. My God, I don't even know. I just want this on my wall.
Yeah, it is a beautiful painting.
Look where I don't know who this is. I thought it was a Sisley at first.
Oh, maybe.
I don't think it is, but the gritting thing here is really cool. Because look where the horizon is.
Way down there.
It's exactly on that line. Now, if that horizon had been in the middle, it would be so dumb. It would not work. Because one thing he's done is he created this majesty of it with the high sky, with that Montana sky.
Mm-hmm. And it was all about that sky.
Boy, isn't it? But here's the interesting thing that I think is he has repeated the pattern of the shape of the waves on the beach and the clouds at the top, because they all are both basically in that quarter, top quarter and bottom quarter.
Yeah.
And that bottom quarter and the top quarter, that's where everything happens. And then to break that up so it's not boring, he throws in those clouds and he throws in the ships to break the horizon. He's breaking up that straight line.
That monotony of the straight line.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it okay.
But it still serves the theme of the picture, which is the sky and the beach.
Yeah, I want to point out one more thing, and there's a pattern here.
Oh, the painter is, Catherine looked it up for us, Jan Hendrik Wiesenbruch.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Catherine.
Sounds very German.
Yeah.
I'll look more for his work. But look at the pattern of the ships and the people. If you look at the ships, he's got three. Now, he didn't put the big ship in the foreground right in the middle between the other two. He put it to the right a little bit because it feels more comfortable. Mm-hmm. When you put things right in the middle too much, it takes you out of the picture. Now, look what he did on the right. The figures, if you just look at those figures and you squint at them and see them as shapes,
okay,
it almost repeats the same position and pattern of those ships.
On the left, those people are grouped more like the two ships on the right are to each other.
Well, on the group of people, you've got basically, if I said those were ships, you got a ship in the middle, you got a ship on the left, and you got a ship on the right.
Okay, and I'm covering up the larger figure on the far right. I'm just looking at the trio of people, and they are exactly placed like the ships.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And as soon as you do patterns like that work but aren't obviously patterns, mm-hmm. You don't know why they feel comfortable. But this painting works.
Of course, but if he had made those figures the size of the ships and the same grouping, that wouldn't have worked, right? Because they'd be too similar.
Oh, yeah. But he's also done this with those figures on the right, as he did with the ships breaking up the horizon, to break up that wave.
The wave, the surf coming up on the beach.
Yeah,
yes,
it breaks that up.
Subtle point, but it's right there.
And this is so cool that you did this too.
Yeah, she sketched the scene.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. This is, I mean, how can you go wrong?
Yeah, Katie's work.
And I don't know who it is on the left. It looks like one of those
Chardin.
I think it feels like a detail, actually. It's a great one to study though, because look at the Look where everything is placed.
Such a nice exercise by Katie.
Yeah, now that Degas, look at when you see the grid, it becomes like, wow, everything on the upper half, and he's broken it up with that leg coming down. And that's not to mention just the angles of the arms and stuff, of course. He's doing that thing.
Well, and look how the figures sort of divide the picture into two equal halves, left and right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is what you've been saying.
Yeah, left and right.
They're playing with those center.
And top and bottom, too.
Axes.
It's not so obvious top and bottom. It's more obvious left and right, but you can see it when you grid it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Beautiful
see.
job, Katie.
Yeah, this one is.
Lotus, if you're still here, we were both wondering this afternoon when Larry and I were looking at this. What source was this? It almost looks like a movie still or something.
Which is great. I mean,
I want to see that movie.
This is pretty fascinating because those trees in the background feel like spikes, daggers. It's very explosive.
Yeah.
And again, he's got this face, not in the middle, below the middle, but
pretty much it's a centerpiece. I mean, it's part of those center four squares.
It's still in the center, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. Because again, I think if you did a silhouette with this one, with the character and the mountain that he's hanging onto, you could see what he's doing with this big shape. Even though it's snow, it's white, a lot of white on white. By doing this value study, you can see where he's placed the dark on this. It's a photograph, right?
She says it's a still from a Wes Anderson movie, The Grand Budapest. Wow.
Oh, that's what this
like
is.
Historical.
Great movie.
You've seen it?
Yeah. Okay. I thought it looked familiar. God dang that guy. Oh, I see what you wrote down there on the bottom right. Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies. Wes Anderson is fantastic. Yeah. Studying Hitchcock, it's what a terrific choice. The verticals.
Oh, it makes me dizzy.
Boy, the drama in this is amazing. And that was a very dramatic scene. That was a great scene. Now this is interesting.
Yeah, this is Laura's piece.
Oh, this is hers?
Well, this is Laura's exercise, and
this feels like.
I don't know. I don't think that's Laura. Is that a Van Gogh? Who's paint? I think that it looks like a Van Gogh.
It does.
But and he's sewing. So, yeah, and there's her sketch.
And this grid is so good. It's so good. It says so much about composition. In the upper horizontal order is where the horizon is. So the whole painting is filled with subject. Then right in the character takes up just enough space. If he had been larger or smaller, it wouldn't have worked so well. But where this figure is with the grid and the motion of the arm and the leg out reminds me of the Japanese print we just looked at.
With the foot extending into the other box.
Yeah, now that and that body of his is right almost in the middle of that row, but yet he balances and throws it off by extending the arm and the leg. And so he's made this X, kind of an X.
And he needed to throw the arm out one way so that he could push the leg out the other way, right?
And it's interesting. Yeah, right. And it's interesting that angle of the green stripe there above it, that works.
The perspective on this is really so fine because the Van Gogh has raised, if it was Van Gogh, raised our horizon level up high to near the top of the picture, and as a result, we're looking down on him.
Right. Yeah, you're right about
that. We're seeing the top of his, and that's correct, right? Mm-hmm. We're high up. We're not coming at him. We're not standing on his plane.
Right. That's exactly right.
And the grid helped me to see that in particular.
I actually, to tell you the truth, when I don't know who drew this, the student, but
Laura
drew this. Her drawing is the figure we're closing in on him. If you notice in the original painting,
he's a little bigger in her sketch. Is that what?
I don't know if it was an accident or not, but you see how far he's farther away.
He's farther away. Yeah.
I kind of like what she did here.
You like her? You like
Yeah,
her
so I
version
think she
better.
should go in and find the original and repaint it.
Now, do you have a technique for controlling sizes when you're actually copying an original and you're in front of it and you've got the aspect ratio? Is that tricky to keep things all in their same proportion on in your sketchbook and the relationship with each other? Do you have is it a grid, in fact? Or
yeah, sometimes, yeah, I don't. Sometimes what I do is when I'm copying something, I'll copy it, and sometimes I'll notice that I need more space somewhere on the side or something, so I'll just add more as
yeah,
I just add more.
that's okay to do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you do want to try to.
Sometimes if you can't get it, you just start over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only way to nail that stuff down is just by continually to practice. Now, this is interesting because this looks like an illustration from the 30s or 50s, maybe 1940s, maybe 40s, but I'm not. There's if you look at this, there's an obviously like the map or whatever he's looking at because he's traveling. So there's a lot of obvious storytelling here, and we know who the pilots are, and maybe I don't know what the girls are doing, but you really don't see anyone's faces full on. He's hiding the faces, so I don't quite understand. I don't know the history of this. It'd be interesting to know the story behind this painting more than the painting itself. I think. There's no real major focus. Like if you look, there's nothing in the middle except that woman and their eyes.
So what do you think of that artist's?
Well, that makes me wonder what this was for.
It looks to me like a commercial illustration trying to.
It does. It does to me. It looks like they're selling airline.
Yeah. Or travel or something. Yeah. Something.
But he has one more thing. He has repeated things with the goggles and the sunglasses. I mean, and the hats and
color scheme.
Yeah, he repeated the color of the coat and the woman to his left. Anyway, we'll go to this one by Monet, which is.
Oh, this was Mary Jo's piece. Yeah, and she had to leave, but she was with it.
Okay. Well, this is interesting because it feels like a lot of Monet stuff. It's like a fragment. You know, like it would have been part of a painting. Like there's more to it than this, but it's such a master.
Oh my God, yes.
It's complete. You know, a terrific way to study. Like, look at that big area of shadow in the foreground. Those two traveling shadows, lines
coming into the field.
And then you see this, and you see his horizon did that thing. The horizon is in the middle.
We've seen so many examples of that tonight, including in your own illustrations, Larry.
Yeah, this is a really good one to study. It's so simple. It's so simple. And it gives you the feeling that it's not complex until you start doing this. You know? Then you see how much is really going on. I have to move on because I think we're really now. And then here's Homer again. This is one of my favorite paintings. And this he just did in gouache. When he did a lot of gouache early when he was getting into painting.
Oh, I didn't know this was a gouache painting.
Yeah, he did a lot with gouache, and then he switched almost exclusively to watercolor. But he still used gouache throughout his entire career.
In his watercolors, did he also? Okay.
Yeah, and this is watercolor with gouache.
I see the gouache now in the bush.
It's mostly watercolor, but he's using gouache. He's using it in the hats. He's using the clothes and stuff. Yeah, but if you took that cat out, it wouldn't be the same.
I'm covering up the cat right now.
Yeah.
It's not the same. You need that black for one thing.
Yeah, but the value studies here are cool.
Nice job, Virginia.
Yeah, but what I really like is this, and you can really see where he put those kids. Almost all three of them are in the same.
They are.
Mm-hmm. And he's got those two windows on the upper right, and both almost right, both squares. And that cat is by itself in its own little square. He's got that cool thing going on that top quarter horizontal. line with the kids' heads continuing to the right.
To the fence line?
Yeah. And those shrubs, yeah.
The shrubs? Uh-huh.
And then those diagonals are interesting because it's like an arrow, a subtle arrow, on the right, and you can see where he put them in the squares.
What was that in the painting, that diagonal? Was that a shadow, or was it a...
I think it's I don't know. I think
it's like a...
I don't know what that is.
It's like they're in some sort of a vat or something, and that's part of a shoot. That's such a good point, Larry, and the grid makes it clear, and I wouldn't have picked up on it. If Homer had the bushes and the fence at a different latitude from the children's tops of their heads, it wouldn't have worked nearly as well.
No, it wouldn't. No, and you can tell he did this standing there painting.
And that maybe have been what drew him to that subject, was that horizontal all the way across.
Mm-hmm. But also, if you did this as, I don't know how you would do it. If you did this as silhouette, you probably do the kids and the fence thing they're sitting on as one shape, and the thing on the right as one shape. And you would see where he has put that whole thing in the middle, with the cat. And he's broken up that horizon with the cat.
He did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now this, I think this might be the last. See what else? Now this, I think this might be the last.
Stacy's piece. Okay, this is Stacy's piece. Okay.
We're
wondering, Stacy, who this artist was. We were admiring the painting.
I was wondering who this was. So he's put everything. In that vertical half of the painting in the grid. You can see the whole thing is right inside your grid there.
Totally.
Yeah, and then he's broken it up with those octopus.
But the whole center of the whole picture subject is in that third column.
Mm-hmm. And anytime, you put something in a third horizontal or vertical, you're going to draw attention to it. See, everything is right there.
And his light and dark contrast is right there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this almost, I wonder who this was. But yeah, that was a great one to grid. That was a really fantastic painting to grid. Because you can also see, on the bottom part where the leaves and stuff are.
Where are you pointing? Let me see your cursor.
Well, here. I don't really see this.
Oh, it's just sort of.
But you got the main things, which was the limbs coming off.
Stacy says she doesn't know the artist either. She just liked the image. She just liked the painting.
Yeah, that is really. I love to hear that.
Oh, the fact that she just picked something that drew her.
That's fantastic. Somebody says they were writing.
Yeah, she was flipping pages, looking for references. You were making good use of that Amtrak ride, doing your homework.
Yeah.
Good job, Stacy.
Ripped out of something.
Ripped from the headlines.
That's great.
This has been a great lesson. It was something real fresh for us to go back and look at composition, and also to see your work.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out, the last thing I'll point out here is I still do this. I was doing this when I was 14. And I still do this because I still am curious about what I do and what I like. When I hear somebody saying they just grabbed something because they liked it, I love to hear that, because that's the most important thing if you're attracted to it. If you're just doing it as an exercise and you're just picking up painting, you can learn from it, but you can learn a lot more in depth if it's something that you like. I still do this. I mean, I'm 60 and I still...
Instruction Arts course. Thank you for turning Larry onto this at age 14.
Yeah. My parents thank my mother.
I don't know if you're seeing the comments coming in, Larry, but they're saying very informative session, brilliant composition class. Thank you, Larry and Mark, for a fantastic evening together. And Diane says, I miss the input working alone at home. This was great, all capital letters, exclamation marks.
Yeah, that's true when you're working at home.
Yeah, that's why so many of us need exactly this kind of thing.
That's what's great about this, huh?
We just feel like we're all sitting around a table together or in a class listening and getting to know you and seeing so much beautiful work. So Laurie Edwards saying thank yous. You'll get more of these comments, I think, Larry, as the as the week goes on and they see the replay or next week goes on. LarryDayIllustration.com is Larry's website.
You know, if you're doing artwork and it feels like work, then you got to step away from it for a while and then come back.
Yeah, go get away.
Yeah.
Look at other people's work too.
Yeah, right. That's one thing. And you know, one other thing I want to leave you with: if you're near a museum, usually they have, and it can be a university museum. They usually have a print and drawing room, and you can go in there and look at stuff, and that's a good thing. I would recommend that highly.
The print and drawing room, because some other artist has already puzzled out the frame and his subject's relation to that frame, that 2D frame.
Yeah, well, you'll see stuff that you've never seen before. Keep it away from the light.
It's not up on the walls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ann Slavitt is saying, was so engrossed I forgot to sign in. A million thanks. Great.
You're all very welcome. This was fun.
It was indeed fun. We're going to let Larry get back to his life, and his deadline, I think, would be good. So I'm going to stop the broadcast, guys. Thanks for staying with us. Larry, thanks a million for a wonderful night. And you're still getting the thank yous. They're still typing in thanks. And Diane says the art department library at the university is good too. Oh, yes, yeah. I find that to be the case at University of Texas. They have the coolest art library, and they let you go in and check out books even if you just live in the Austin area. That's so university art libraries are great for that. So, they have books you'll never find anywhere else.
Terrific suggestion.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast, guys. So have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
And good night, and we'll talk to you all again soon.
Okay.